Ethan walked down the empty street late at night. The city was cold and quiet, with only the sound of his boots hitting the pavement. He had just finished a long shift at the factory, and all he wanted was to go home and sleep. But as he passed an alley between two buildings, he heard something strange. It was soft, like a whisper, but filled with pain. He stopped and listened carefully. The sound came again, a weak moan. Ethan turned his head slowly and looked into the darkness. A broken street lamp flickered above the alley, throwing strange shadows on the walls. At first he saw nothing, then behind a pile of trash and boxes something moved, something alive, cautiously. He stepped into the alley. "Hello?" he called out, his voice low. "Is someone there?" The boxes shifted, and from behind them, a figure slowly stood up. It was a woman, or at least, she looked like one. Her skin was pale blue, and her long hair was silver. She was wearing torn clothes that barely covered her thin body. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark, like the moon. Ethan froze, his heart pounding. She didn't speak, just stared at him with tired eyes. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. She took a shaky step forward, then collapsed to her knees. Without thinking, Ethan rushed forward and caught her. She was light, too light, like a feather. Hey, are you okay?" he asked, trying to help her stand. She opened her mouth, but only a dry whisper came out. "Hungry." Ethan looked around, then back at her. She didn't look dangerous. She looked scared, broken, and starving. He made a quick decision. "Come with me," he said gently. "I'll get you something to eat." She didn't respond, but she let him help her to her feet. She leaned against him, barely able to walk. Ethan took off his jacket and wrapped it around her. Then he guided her out of the alley and towards his small apartment. The streets were empty, and no one saw them. In a few minutes, they reached his building. He lived alone on the second floor. He unlocked the door and let her inside. The apartment was small, but warm. He helped her sit on the couch and hurried to the kitchen. He quickly made her a bowl of instant soup. When he brought it over, she took it with shaking hands. She sniffed it first, then slowly began to eat. Ethan sat across from her, watching silently. She finished the bowl in seconds, then looked up at him with wide eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're welcome," he said, trying to smile. "I'm Ethan, by the way." She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Lyra," she said softly. Lyra. The name suited her. He could see her face more clearly now. She was not fully human, that was clear, but there was something gentle in her expression, something sad. "Where are you from, Lyra?" he asked. She looked down, her hands holding the empty bowl. Far away," she said, struggling with the words. "I escaped. Bad place. They hurt." Ethan felt a chill. Who would hurt someone like her? Why was she hiding in a dirty alley, starving and alone? He had so many questions, but he could see she was exhausted. "Don't worry," he said softly. "You can stay here tonight. Rest and eat. You're safe now." Lyra looked up at him again, her glowing eyes full of something he couldn't understand yet. "Safe," she repeated, as if she had never heard the word before. Then she leaned back on the couch and closed her eyes. Within seconds, she was asleep. Ethan stood up quietly and got a blanket. He covered her gently and turned off the lights as he walked to his bedroom. His mind raced. Who was she? Where did she come from? And why did he feel like his life had just changed forever? He didn't know the answers, not yet. But he knew one thing. He had brought home a stranger, and she was not from this world. The morning light touched Ethan's windows as he opened his eyes. He sat up quickly, remembering the night before. Had it been real, or just a strange dream? He stepped into the living room and froze. She was still there. Lyra, the alien woman, lay curled on the couch under the blanket. Her silver hair spilled over the pillow, glowing softly in the sunlight. She looked peaceful now, like someone who hadn't slept in a long time. Ethan walked to the kitchen and started making eggs and toast. He didn't know what she ate, but he figured anything was better than nothing. The smell of food filled the small apartment. Soon, he heard movement behind him. He turned and saw Lyra standing near the hallway. She looked unsure. Her arms wrapped around herself. Her blue skin shimmered faintly in the light. "Morning," Ethan said gently. "You hungry?" She nodded slowly. "Yes," she whispered, her voice still weak. He handed her a plate and motioned to the table. She sat down and began to eat slowly, like she was trying to understand each bite. Ethan sat across from her, watching carefully. "So," he began, "Lyra, right?" She looked up and nodded again. "That's your name?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "Lyra. That is what I was called. Where are you from?" She paused, then shook her head. "Far," she said. "Not this world." Ethan wasn't surprised. Her glowing eyes, her skin, her voice, it was clear she wasn't human. But she wasn't a monster either. She seemed afraid, fragile even. "I don't want to scare you," he said. "You're safe here, okay?" Lyra looked at him closely, as if trying to read his heart. "No lab?" she asked softly. Ethan frowned. "What lab?" She hesitated, then placed her hand on the table. "They take." "Like me," she said. "Test hurt cage." Ethan's stomach turned. "Here? On Earth?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "I escape 2 nights ago." "Who are they?" "Men, black clothes," she whispered. "No names, just orders." Ethan sat back in his chair. "Government agents, maybe. Or some secret organization." It sounded like something out of a sci-fi movie. But this was real. She looked down at the plate, pushing the toast around with her fingers. "I was born in lab," she said. "Not natural. You were made?" Ethan asked carefully. She nodded again. "Made to obey, to fight. But I don't want to fight." Ethan felt his heart ache. She was just a girl, lost and scared, trying to escape a life she never chose. He wondered how many others like her existed, hidden away in labs or cages. Do they know? "You escaped?" he asked. "Yes," she said quickly, her eyes wide now. "They come soon. Here?" "Maybe," she whispered. "They track. Heat, voice, energy." Ethan stood up and pulled the curtains shut. "We'll be careful," he said. "They won't find you, not here." Lyra looked at him again, her expression unreadable. "Why help me?" she asked. Ethan didn't know how to answer. He looked at her and saw more than just an alien. He saw someone alone, someone desperate to live a normal life. "Because it's the right thing to do," he finally said. Lyra tilted her head slightly. "No human ever said that to me," she whispered. "You're different." Ethan gave her a small smile. "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe you've just met the wrong people." She looked down at her hands again. "I want to be free," she said softly. "No cages, no pain, just sky, trees, music." "You've never seen a forest?" Ethan asked. She shook her head. "Only walls, only pain." That moment hit Ethan hard. He couldn't imagine a life without freedom, without joy. But Lyra had lived her whole life like that. Locked away, treated like a thing, not a person. "Do you trust me, Lyra?" he asked. She was quiet for a few seconds, then nodded. "Yes," she said simply. "Then we'll find a way," he promised. "We'll keep you safe, and maybe one day you'll have that forest." Lyra's eyes sparkled slightly. Not with power, but with something gentler hope. Just then, a loud knock came at the door. Ethan and Lyra both jumped. He looked at her quickly, then back at the door. His heart started to race. "Stay here," he whispered, moving slowly toward the door. He looked through the peephole. 2 men in black suits stood outside. Cold faces, no emotion. "Open up," one of them called. "We're looking for someone." Ethan's blood ran cold. They had found her. Ethan didn't open the door. He stood still, holding his breath, heart pounding in his chest. Outside, the 2 men in black knocked again, louder this time. "We know someone is inside," one of them said. "We just want to ask a few questions." Ethan turned to Lyra, who was frozen with fear. Her eyes were glowing again, but this time with panic. He walked over and whispered, Go, hide in the closet. Don't make a sound. She didn't argue. She just ran into the hallway and closed the door behind her. Another knock came, longer and sharper. Last chance, the man outside warned. Ethan took a deep breath and opened the door just a little. The taller agent showed a badge but didn't smile. "Good morning, sir. We're looking for someone who might be in danger." Ethan forced a confused look. "Danger? What's going on?" The shorter agent leaned forward. "There was an escape from a secure facility nearby, late 2 nights ago." "An escape?" Ethan repeated. "Yes, a female subject, possibly injured, possibly confused," the agent said. "From around here." Ethan acted surprised. "Sorry, I haven't seen anyone," he said. "She's not here." The men stared at him for a moment. "Mind if we come in and look around?" The tall one asked. Ethan hesitated, then shook his head. "Without a warrant, I can't let you in," he said firmly. "I have rights." The agents looked at each other, clearly annoyed. "We'll be watching." One of them said, "If you see anything unusual, report it immediately." Ethan nodded and slowly closed the door. As soon as the lock clicked, he turned and rushed to the hallway. He opened the closet, and Lyra stepped out, shivering. "They're gone for now," he said. "But they'll be back that night." Neither of them could sleep. Ethan stayed up, checking the windows, listening for cars or footsteps. Lyra sat silently on the couch, her knees pulled to her chest. Around midnight, she whispered, "They never stop." Ethan looked over. "They always follow," she continued. "Even in sleep I feel them watching." "Lyra," Ethan said softly, "you don't have to run forever." She turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "There's more you don't know," she said. "I didn't tell you everything." Ethan nodded. "Okay, tell me now." Lyra stood and walked to the center of the room. She raised her hand and something strange happened. The lights flickered and a soft hum filled the air. Ethan stood up quickly, alarmed. Blue light began to glow from her skin, slowly swirling around her arms. It wasn't just a glow, it moved like smoke. He watched, stunned, as a tiny flame floated above her palm, but didn't burn her. "I can control energy," she said quietly. "They made me this way, trained me to fight, to destroy." Ethan took a slow step forward. "But you don't want to hurt anyone." She shook her head, the flame disappearing. "No, I never wanted to be a weapon. But if they find me, they'll use me again." Ethan sat on the edge of the couch trying to think. "You said you were made in a lab, right?" "Yes," she replied. "They used DNA from many species mixed with human cells. They made many like me, but I was the only one who felt different." "Different how?" he asked. "I didn't want to follow orders," she whispered. "I wanted to feel love, freedom, peace." Ethan looked at her closely. There was so much sadness in her voice, so much pain behind those glowing eyes. "I don't care what they made you for," he said. "You're not a weapon to me." She stared at him, blinking. Slowly, no one had ever said that to her before, not even once. Suddenly, the lamp on the table flickered again. Lyra turned her head sharply. "They're close," she whispered. "They're scanning." "Energy." Ethan jumped to his feet. "What do we do?" "I need to stop glowing," she said, breathing fast. "I can hide my energy, but I'll get weak." "Do it," Ethan said. "I'll take care of the rest." She closed her eyes. And slowly the blue light faded. Her skin turned dull. Her glow disappeared. She stumbled and nearly fell. Ethan caught her just in time. "I'm okay," she whispered, barely able to stand. But she wasn't okay, and he knew it. Ethan helped her to his bed and tucked her in. He turned off every light, every device, even his phone. Then he sat beside the door all night, waiting outside. A black van rolled past his building, slowly. But it didn't stop, not tonight. But they would return. Ethan looked back at Lyra as she slept. Her face was calm now. Even in her weakness, she looked peaceful. He didn't know how far he was willing to go. But one thing was clear, he wasn't going to lose her, not to them, not ever, *. The next morning, Ethan woke up with a stiff neck. He had fallen asleep sitting against the front door. Outside, the street looked normal, quiet, calm, ordinary. But Ethan knew that danger was closer than ever. He walked into the bedroom and found Lyra still sleeping. Her face was pale, and her body looked weak. She had used too much energy hiding. Her glow. He gently touched her shoulder. "Lyra," he whispered, "are you okay?" She opened her eyes slowly, blinking at the light. "I feel heavy," she said softly. "My body is slowing down. You need food and rest," Ethan replied. "I'll make you something." While cooking, he kept checking the window. Cars passed, people walked, but nothing looked unusual. Still, a strange feeling sat heavy in his chest. He couldn't shake it. Suddenly, someone knocked at the door, but this time it wasn't gentle. It was hard, urgent, full of purpose. Ethan froze. The spatula still in his hand, the knock came again. Louder, he turned toward the bedroom and whispered, "Lyra, hide now." She tried to sit up but could barely move. "I can't. My strength," she whispered. Ethan rushed to her side and helped her off the bed. He opened the closet and placed her inside, covering her with clothes and boxes. "Don't move, don't make a sound," he said, his voice shaking. The knock turned into a fist pounding the door. "This is the Department of Extraterrestrial Affairs," a voice called out. "We have reason to believe you are harboring a dangerous alien life form." Ethan took a deep breath, walked to the door, and opened it slightly. 2 agents in black suits stood there again. But this time, there were more, at least 4, waiting near a black van parked outside. One of the agents stepped forward, holding a tablet. "Mr. Ethan Cole?" "Yes," Ethan said calmly. "We have an order to search your apartment," the agent said, showing him a digital warrant. "This won't take long." Ethan stepped aside, pretending to act confused. "What's this all about?" he asked. The agent didn't answer. 2 men entered the apartment and began looking around silently. One scanned the furniture with a glowing handheld device. The other opened drawers and checked under tables. Ethan's heart pounded as one man moved toward the bedroom. He followed him closely, trying to stay calm. "Nice place," the agent said flatly. "Live alone?" "Yes," Ethan answered quickly. "No pets, no guests?" "No," he lied. The agent walked into the bedroom. He scanned the bed, the walls, the floor. Then he looked at the closet. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The agent reached for the door handle. Before he could open it, the scanner in his other hand beeped loudly. He looked down, confused. The signal was coming from the kitchen. He turned and walked out. Ethan stood still, sweat dripping down his back, in the kitchen. The other agent stared at the microwave. "It's just the old wiring," Ethan said quickly. "This building's full of it." The agent looked annoyed, but nodded. "Could be interference," he said. "Still, we'll do a full scan outside." Another man came in carrying a bigger machine. It looked like a backpack with wires and antennas. He turned it on, and a low hum filled the room. Lights blinked rapidly across the screen. Ethan walked slowly to block the hallway. "You're really going this far for someone you haven't even seen?" he asked. The lead agent didn't answer. He was staring at the screen. "Low energy detected," the scanner man said. "Could be residual, not a direct reading." The lead agent frowned. "She might be near, but she's suppressing her energy." "Very clever." The scanner's lights faded. The reading was gone. "She's either moved or is too weak to detect," the agent said. They looked around the room one last time. Then the lead agent sighed. "We'll be back," he said firmly. "If she's here, you're in violation of federal law. Harboring a classified alien subject is a serious crime." Ethan nodded, pretending to look shocked. "I understand," he said. "I'll call if I see anything." The agents left without another word. The door clicked shut behind them. Ethan waited, then locked it. He rushed to the bedroom and opened the closet. Lyra was curled in a ball, barely breathing. Her skin was pale and cold. "Lyra," he whispered. "It's okay, they're gone." She opened her eyes slowly. I heard them, she said. I was so scared. You did good, Ethan said, pulling her into his arms. You stayed quiet. You're safe. I won't be next time. She whispered. They'll come back. They always do. Ethan held her tighter. Then we have to leave, he said. They're watching this place. We can't stay. Where? She asked. Somewhere they can't follow, he said. I know a place. That night, while the city slept, Ethan packed a few clothes, food, and supplies. He helped Lyra into the car and drove away from everything he knew. He didn't look back. The stars above shined bright, and Lyra, curled in the seat beside him, whispered, "Thank you." He didn't say anything, but he knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Snowflakes began falling as Ethan's car climbed the winding road into the mountains. The trees stood tall and silent, covered in white like sleeping giants. The city was far behind them now. Lost in the fog and the noise here, everything was quiet, peaceful, untouched. Lyra sat in the passenger seat, her head resting against the window. Her breathing was slow, her body still weak. She had barely spoken since they left. Her energy was fading with each passing hour. Ethan looked at her, worry in his eyes. "You'll be okay," he said softly. "We'll rest soon, I promise." She gave him a tired nod, but said nothing. The car reached a small wooden cabin hidden deep in the forest. It belonged to Ethan's uncle, who had passed away years ago. No one came here anymore. That's why Ethan chose it. He parked the car and helped Lyra inside. The cabin was cold and dark, but it was shelter. He laid her down on an old couch and wrapped her in blankets. Then he lit the fireplace, and warmth slowly returned to the room. Outside, the snow fell heavier, covering their tracks. Inside, Lyra opened her eyes and looked around. "It's quiet," she whispered. "Yes," Ethan said. "No one will find us here." For the next 2 days, they stayed hidden in the cabin. Ethan cooked simple meals, gathered firewood, and kept watch through the windows. Lyra rested most of the time, trying to recover her strength, but he could see the truth. She was getting worse, not better. One night, as the wind howled outside, Lyra sat up slowly. Her face was pale, her lips dry. "I can't hold it anymore," she whispered. "What do you mean?" Ethan asked, rushing to her side. "My energy. I can't keep it hidden," she said. "If I stop hiding, they'll find me. If I keep hiding, I'll die." Ethan sat down beside her, heart heavy with fear. "There has to be a way," he said. "There has to be something I can do." She looked at him, her glowing eyes dim now. "There is," she said quietly. "In the lab they made a serum. It helps balance the energy inside me." "A serum?" Ethan repeated. She nodded. "They injected it weekly," she said, "but without it, my power grows wild, then collapses." "Do you know where they keep it?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "In the main vault, underground. It's heavily guarded." Ethan stood up and began pacing the room. "So we go back," he said. "We get the serum." Lyra shook her head. "It's too dangerous," she said. "If they catch you, they'll hurt you." Ethan walked over and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Let them try," he said. "I'm not letting you die." She looked into his eyes, shocked by his words. "No one has ever fought for me," she whispered. "You're the first. I'm not going to be the last," he said firmly. "Now tell me everything I need to know." That night, Lyra drew a rough map of the lab's layout. She showed him where the vault was, where the cameras were, and how the guards rotated. Ethan studied every detail, memorizing the paths and security points. He had never broken into anything before, but for her, he was ready to do the impossible. The next morning, just before sunrise, Ethan packed his gear. He took a flashlight, gloves, and an old tool set. He didn't tell Lyra goodbye. He told her to rest, because he would come back no matter what. He drove down the mountain, back into the world of steel and concrete, back into danger. The lab was hidden behind a false factory. Most people passed by without even noticing it. Ethan parked in an alley nearby and waited for nightfall. When the street was empty, He climbed over the fence and slipped into the shadows. The security was tight, but not perfect. He moved silently, just like Lyra had taught him. He found the side door that led to the lower levels. Using tools, he picked the lock and entered the hallway. Cameras blinked above, but he knew the blind spots. Lyra had remembered everything. He reached the vault room without being seen. The door was massive, locked by a keypad and a scanner. But he noticed a small maintenance panel on the side. With shaking hands, he opened it and crossed the wires. The light on the door turned green. It opened slowly with a hiss. Inside, glowing tubes lined the walls, filled with blue liquid. Ethan searched until he found the one labeled SERUM-013. He grabbed it and turned to leave, but then an alarm blared. A red light filled the room. "They know I'm here," he muttered. He ran down the hall, alarms echoing through the building. Guards shouted behind him, boots pounding the floor. He reached the fence, climbed it fast, then jumped into the alley. Pain shot through his leg as he landed badly, but he kept running. He didn't stop until he reached the car. He drove through the night, through snow and silence, back to the mountains. When he burst into the cabin, Lyra looked up, her eyes wide. "You came back," she whispered. Ethan dropped the serum into her hands. "Of course I did," he said. Lyra held the glowing serum vial in her shaky hands. Her fingers trembled as she looked at it, her lips parting in disbelief. You really did it," she whispered. Ethan knelt beside her, out of breath, his jacket torn and his leg bleeding. He smiled faintly. "I said I would," he replied. "I keep my promises." Without waiting, she pulled the cap off the vial and pressed the tip to her arm. A soft hiss escaped as the serum entered her bloodstream. Her body jerked slightly, then relaxed. A warm glow spread across her skin. Slow but steady, Ethan watched, amazed. Her blue skin shimmered gently. Her silver hair brightened. Even her breathing grew stronger, deeper. It was working. Lyra looked up at him, her eyes brighter than ever. "You saved me," she said softly. "No one has ever done that for me." Ethan smiled, wiping the sweat from his forehead. "You're not a thing to be thrown away." "Lyra," he said, "you deserve to live, to be free." A long silence followed, broken only by the sound of the wind outside. The fire crackled gently in the hearth, filling the room with warmth. Lyra sat up straighter now, her strength returning. Quickly, but her face had changed. Her eyes held a new emotion. "Something deeper. I need to tell you everything," she said at last. Ethan raised his eyebrows. "I thought you already had." "No," she said, shaking her head slowly. "There's more." She stood and walked to the window, staring out at the snowy trees. "They didn't just make me in that lab," she began. "I wasn't an accident or a failed experiment. They designed me with a purpose." Ethan stood too, listening closely. "What purpose?" he asked. Lyra turned to face him. "I was created to lead," she said, "to control others like me. They built dozens of alien hybrids, some stronger, some faster. But I was different." Ethan's brows furrowed. "Different how?" "I could connect with others, speak to their minds, guide their emotions," she said slowly. "They called me Project Voice. They wanted me to control armies." Ethan stepped back, stunned. "You mean you were made to start a war?" "Yes," she replied. "A secret war, against any species who challenged Earth's power. I was the key, the weapon of peace, they said." "But you ran away," Ethan said softly. "Yes," Lyra nodded, "because I felt something inside. Something they didn't teach me. I didn't want to command, I wanted to live." She walked closer to him now, her voice gentle. "When I first escaped, I didn't know where to go," she said. "I wandered for days, hungry, hunted, afraid. Then I saw you, in the alley," Ethan said, remembering the moment clearly. "Yes," she whispered. "I thought you'd run or turn me in, but you gave me food, warmth, safety." Ethan looked at her closely. "You think that makes me special?" It makes you human, Lyra said with a soft smile. And maybe it makes me something close to human too. They sat down again, the tension lifting. Slightly, Ethan took a deep breath. So what now? He asked. You've got the serum. You're safe here for now. Lyra's face turned serious again. There's one more thing, she said. When I connected with the lab's network, I saw something. What did you see? They've activated another project, she said. Something worse than me. Something without a mind, only commands. Ethan's blood turned cold. They're not going to stop, are they? No, Lyra said. They're preparing for something big. They think war is coming. And they want to win first. Ethan stood up and walked to the window. The snow was falling heavier now, but the peaceful scene felt like a lie. He clenched his fists. We have to stop them, he said. Lyra joined him. I can help, she said. But only if I stop running. I've been hiding all my life. But maybe it's time I face who I am. Ethan turned to her. You're not a weapon, Lyra, he said firmly. You're a person. You have a choice. And I choose to fight, she said. Not for them, but for the freedom they stole from me and others like me. Ethan nodded slowly. Then we do it together, he said. No more hiding. Lyra reached for his hand and held it tightly. Her touch was warm now, strong and steady. For the first time since they met, she didn't feel like a guest or a runaway. She felt like a partner outside. The snow kept falling. But inside the cabin, something had changed. Not just survival but purpose, whatever came next. Ethan and Lyra would face it side by side. Because together, they were no longer just a man and an alien. They were something stronger. Weeks passed in the cabin. The snow melted slowly, revealing the green beneath. Birds returned to the trees, and the cold wind turned into soft breezes. But peace, for Ethan and Lyra, was only a disguise. Each day, Lyra grew stronger. The serum helped her recover. But it was more than medicine now. It was purpose that gave her strength. She trained daily, not as a weapon, but as a protector. Ethan built new tools using old tech. He crafted signal blockers, radio jammers, and cameras from scrap. The cabin became a hidden outpost, small but powerful, and both of them waited for the moment they knew would come. That moment came one night. It started with static on the radio. Then the sky filled with a strange light blue and pulsing. Lyra looked out the window and whispered. They found us. Ethan didn't panic. He grabbed the bag they had prepared and handed her the communicator. Time to go? She asked. He nodded. No more running, he said. We fight. Drones flew over the trees, scanning the ground below. Soldiers in black dropped from hovercrafts, silent and swift. But this time, Lyra wasn't hiding. She stepped outside into the clearing, her body glowing softly with energy. The snow around her feet melted instantly. The air shimmered with power. I'm not yours, she shouted into the sky. I never was. The soldiers surrounded her, weapons raised. Stand down, one of them ordered. You are classified property of Earth Defense Division. Ethan stepped beside her. She's not property, he said firmly. She's free. The lead soldier took a step forward. By resisting, you're committing a crime against Earth's authority. Lyra raised her hand slowly, not to attack, but to speak. I was made to lead your armies, she said calmly. But I choose to lead something else, Hope. The soldier hesitated. Behind him, more soldiers arrived, but something was different. Some of them lowered their weapons, confused, uncertain. Ethan whispered, They don't want this fight. Lyra nodded. Because they feel it, she said. Through me. She closed her eyes and sent a wave of calm energy into the field. The trees stopped rustling, the birds stopped chirping, and the soldiers looked at each other, unsure of their orders. From the sky, a massive ship descended, sleek, black, and humming with power. A man stepped out, dressed in a silver uniform, his eyes cold. Project Voice, he said. You belong to us. Lyra faced him without fear. I don't belong to anyone, she said. You built me for control, but I chose connection. You're a mistake, he said. You were supposed to obey. Then I'm glad I failed, Lyra replied. Because now I know who I am. Ethan stepped forward. You can't force her back, he said. The world is changing. People are watching now. The man raised a weapon. Then you'll both disappear, he said coldly. But before he could fire, one of his own soldiers stepped in front. No, the soldier said. She's right. More followed, dropping their guns, turning their backs on the command. The man looked around. Stunned, you fools, he shouted. She's tricking you. No, one soldier said. She's freeing us. The commander tried to run, but Lyra raised her hand gently. A soft beam of light wrapped around him, freezing him in place. She didn't hurt him, just stopped him. Let the world judge you, she said. I don't need revenge. Later that night, the remaining soldiers left. Not as enemies, but as witnesses, and Lyra stood in the clearing, feeling something she had never known before: peace. Inside the cabin, Ethan poured 2 mugs of tea. He handed one to Lyra and smiled. You really did it, he said. We did it. She replied. The fire crackled softly, and the stars blinked above. They sat together on the porch, watching the night sky. I never thought I'd survive, Lyra whispered. Let alone feel happy. Ethan turned to her. I never thought I'd fall in love with someone from another world, he said. But here we are. Lyra blushed softly, the glow of her skin warming. She looked at him, truly looked, and saw more than a savior. She saw someone who gave her a reason to live. Ethan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small box. I found this in town last week, he said, opening it. Inside was a simple silver ring. Lyra gasped. What is this? He smiled, nervous but hopeful. On my planet, he said. This means a promise to stay, to protect, to love. She stared at the ring, then at him. Is this what humans call marriage? He nodded. Yes. Lyra reached out and took the ring, her hands glowing gently. Then my answer is yes, she said with a smile. Forever.